the end, it went through the rim. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, she gonna go ahead to the back. Oh no.
Are you looking to crash out on people that were close to you that didn't support you, people that made fun of you, people that talked about your peanut butter skin? Like what?
I mean, I got a lot of discipline, but 25-year-old with them big cans and that peanut butter skin who has nothing to say, at some point I'm going to lose respect, and I'm like, well, the only thing she's got to offer is them big cans and that peanut butter skin. And so if I got to put up with this, I might as well enjoy them big cans.
Like what?
You love that. Admit that you love that band.
It's funny. I'm
Admit
sorry.
that you love that band.
Well, now tuned in to the Dark Times channel.
And so here we go again, back with another one. Welcome back to the Dark Times channel. And so we got a few topics that I want to go ahead and touch on today. And one of those topics is the WNBA. And something went down the other day in the WNBA, in case some of y'all didn't know. I'm going to go ahead and play the clip. Go ahead and check it out.
And it bounced around a lot, but at the end, it went through the rim. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, she gonna go ahead to the back. Oh no.
Now the officials are now talking to arena security here. As you can see,
they made fun of her for the situation on the
Is my mic off? Can I?
so a fan said something. The Phoenix Mercury bench heard it, and they did not like what was said. They're taking exception to it, so Amy Bonner, crew chief, is trying to have this sorted out with the arena security here as to which person it was, and that way they can get it taken care of.
And so I got a big problem with this, like I know a lot of y'all do as well. And let me go ahead and preface by saying, as they say, ish happens. Throughout the course of a game, throughout the course of competition, people have wardrobe malfunctions.
Moments ago, now here is one for the book. Michael Beasley looking to check in for the Lakers and then is told, hey, Michael, come on back. You're wearing the wrong shorts.
I got four
and he
words.
heads back to the locker room. And
What's that, training, bro? And look at LeBron, it's just absolutely...
People have hair malfunctions.
The Lakers starting forwards have outscored the Jazz starting forwards 51-7.
And when things like this happen, people have a right to laugh. People have a right to heckle you. Or roast you, as they say. If it happens on the court, it's a part of the game. Because if I'm a fan, and I paid good money for those seats, and those seats look like they cost a pretty penny, those are some good seats. They were right close to the front row. I'm allowed to react. As a paying customer, I'm allowed to react to what I'm seeing on the court. And if what I'm seeing is a wardrobe malfunction or a hairpiece malfunction, they got a right to laugh. Especially if that individual is not on my team. Even better. Personally, I would never do it. I would never heckle anybody in the first place. That's just not my style. But there's some people that when they go to a sporting event, even if they're 50 rows up, they're going to say something. They're going to try to heckle. They're going to try to get under the opponent's skin. And it's a part of the game. And so I think it comes at a bad time, and I think it's bad luck for the WNBA, especially at a time where these women are trying to fight for equal pay.
I am all for people asking for raises. I don't have a problem with the WNBA players asking for a raise. And so this week they wore T-shirts saying, you know, making a statement, you better pay us.
Pay us what you owe. That's a slippery slope.
Why?
Because from everything that I've read, the WNBA has never turned a profit.
And I dare the WNBA players, I dare you, walk out. I dare you to walk out. Go ahead and walk out. I double dare you.
So if I'd never turned a profit, Ocho, so let me get this right. I'm losing money, but you want a raise.
Right.
Something ain't adding up.
And what they deem to be fair pay, it's a bad look. Because you can't be kicking out fans when you're trying to grow your audience. You're trying to grow your brand. And you're kicking out your audience for laughing at a wig falling off. people are going to laugh at it. So it is what it is, and it's one of those things that they should have just let the game continue. That's one of those things, they just got to eat it. You got to save those kind of ejections for the real harassment that some of these players have to endure, some of the racial stuff, some of the maybe the sexualized stuff that some of these players have to endure. Because outside of that, I think everything else should be fair game. And speaking of fair game, Joy Taylor, and she's been making her rounds on different podcasts recently. And recently she was on the Higher Learning podcast, and they brought up her show being one of the 3 shows that Fox Sports decided to cancel. And within the context of that conversation, the subject of accountability came up.
Do you think that the network would have gone in that direction if not for the lawsuit and other things that happened this year?
No, I don't think it had anything. I don't think. It absolutely had nothing to do with the lawsuit.
Oh, nothing to do with it.
It absolutely had nothing to do with the lawsuit.
So what do you think the reason was that they pivoted? Because the Barstool thing is a gigantic pivot, in my opinion.
So if it was just my show, then perhaps that could be the story. But the other shows had nothing to do with the lawsuit.
Well,
I am the only person that had anything to do with the lawsuit. And I am telling you, it had nothing to do with the lawsuit.
Now, a lot of people find that hard to believe because, like I've discussed before on this channel, if you look at the details of that lawsuit and what Joy Taylor is being accused of in that lawsuit, it's hard to believe that the network didn't factor that into it.
But the story seems to be you and your show were canceled. How does that make you feel seeing headlines that were directed towards you, or that you were the face of every social media post, every article, as opposed to there were multiple people who lost their hosting positions and their shows?
Well, I think I look best on the graphic.
Just from an aesthetic?
From an aesthetic
you're the hottest
standpoint, I'm the best looking, obviously. And I think that goes without debate, because it's not the story. The story actually is that a massive network is pivoting in a very distinct direction and changing the format and formula for their programming.
Now, I don't think Joy Taylor believes that for 1 second. Being in media, understanding how media works, understanding what's going to get the clicks, understanding what the audience wants to see, that's not true, and that's not the case. And I think she knows better than that. Maybe 20 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, that would have been the story. Nobody really cares about a network pivoting and the format that it's going to have. Maybe some people do, but you're talking about the average viewer, they're not going to click on that. They're not going to want to watch that particular story.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so that part is frustrating because I expect more from journalists, but I guess at this point, where are the real journalists anymore?
I'm trying to pull it apart and de-TMZ my mind because I don't know that I agree with that.
Okay.
I think that normally, let's say that this were, like, let's take the lawsuit and everything out of it. Let's say that this were, I don't know, it's CBS Good Morning or whatever. And they were removing a lot of their people and Gayle King was one of them. I think the story there for a lot of people would be the fact that Gayle King is no longer on the show because she's become something that's kind of bigger than the show. And for whatever reason, the story that came out of all of the shakeups at Fox at the beginning of it was kind of, you were the flashpoint for that. So I think people were waiting for some sort of resolution to it because I know you. So I know everything that was happening for you and behind the scenes of that.
Correct.
But I think most people were waiting to see if it was just going to be business as usual at Fox after everything happened. And they looked at that decision by the network as closing the loop on a gigantic story. So I think a lot of people that probably chased that story probably went, oh, this is closure to the entire Joy Taylor thing that happened at the beginning of the year.
And so shout out to Van Lathan, because that's exactly how most people saw it. That's how I saw it. When I saw that story break, that FS1 was no longer going to be carrying that show, it was closure. And a lot of people wanted to do a follow-up to that story. And so to me, it feels like she's trying to skirt accountability here by saying that people really just wanted to do the story because of those big peanut butter cans. They wanted to see those big peanut butter cans on the thumbnail, and that's why we chose to do the story. And two things can be true. I wish I could just post a picture of some big peanut butter cans and get views, but it doesn't work like that. That's not how it works. You got to have a story with some substance as well to go with it. Otherwise, nobody's going to want to watch it. Nobody's going to want to click on it. You may look at the thumbnail, but you'll skip right over it. And so you got to have some substance with it. And this is something that Joy Taylor knows.
Obvious to me that it has nothing to do with the suit, but also it has nothing to do with the suit.
What do you think?
Also, the other part, that before I forget, what I find remarkable about the headlines and the coverage of it is that every day I hear how women don't belong in sports and that we don't really have a footprint in sports. We're not really relevant. Like we're like begging for a seat at the table. And 3 shows, some pretty important people got canceled, and I am the biggest story. The only woman at the network.
And so I'm disappointed in Joy. The fact that she went the feminist route on this one. And Joy Taylor, for what it's worth, I think she's actually damn good at her job. She's one of the best females that I've ever heard talk about sports. She actually knows what she's talking about. She sounds like she knows what she's talking about. She had a lot of good takes, a lot of good insights on some different things. And so a lot of people enjoyed her. I wasn't the only one. A lot of people like to listen to Joy Taylor. And it didn't help or it didn't hurt that she was easy on the eyes. And so she was good for the game. And a lot of people like that. But to hear her talk like this now, like I said, it's disappointing because she knows good and well why she was the story. And like I said, she's trying to dance around it and she's trying to bring the feminist aspect into it now, but it's too late. Nobody's really buying that, especially when you hear the details of the story.
Not a former player, not a Hall of Famer, didn't win a championship, and yet it's me. How interesting.
You think that there's some sexism baked into that?
No, I actually think I don't want to hear about how irrelevant we are.
Well, scandal is always relevant.
But then you're reducing, and I think that's the point that she's making, right? So it's not just scandal as to why, for example.
Here we go with this again. Shannon Sharpe just got let go. He was just let go at ESPN over a settlement. No charges, no police reports filed, a settlement. And so that doesn't apply, especially in today's climate. That's going to stick with you. And you're going to have to pay for it. There's going to be consequences and repercussions, regardless of gender.
To the nature of the business, not just in the sports business, but just in corporate world, period. That is something that will most likely always be attached to your name, whereas a man can just pick up, move on, or maybe even get a pat on the back.
And Joy Taylor is right, in a sense, because what Joy Taylor has been accused of and what she's been alleged of doing and saying to me and to a lot of people is worse than a Matt Lauer.
And now we're looking at a lawsuit where a single Iranian working mother is saying, hey, I had a mixed race lady that was grooming me and explaining to me, hey, here's how you use a big pair of cans and no morals to move up the corporate ladder. You don't need to be qualified. You don't need to work that hard. You can just bang someone, and then in the lawsuit it says, this is according to her friend, that yeah, when push comes to shove, I will accuse this executive of forcing himself on me.
Well,
that's bullshit.
No, I don't think so.
There are certain things about it.
So do you think that Matt Lauer or Charlie Rose?
Matt Lauer's you're giving an outrageous example.
Yeah, I do want to say,
I just would like to.
What happened is not Matt Lauer.
Yeah, that's extreme.
I am also being compared to these outrageous, awful, horrific situations, and
we're talking about an individual who allegedly is okay with selling somebody's name, falsifying accusations of SA against somebody to try to further their career, to try to get the bag. To me, that's worse than the individual actually doing it. And so a lot of times you have individuals like Joy Taylor, or at least what she's alleged to have said. We have individuals like this out here that are predators, and that's predatory behavior. And so she's right in that regard. You can't compare it. What she's accused of doing is actually 10 times worse. Because not only are you lying on somebody to get the bag, you're also messing it up for other women that actually have to go through some things. And so that's why it's worse.
A lot of men that have been involved in a lot of scandals, right?
Correct.
And they've over.
But let's contextualize what they have been involved in scandals for.
Let's contextualize what they've been involved in scandals for. But let's be for real. The reality is that, like, there are very few men, particularly now. In the old days, all the time. I mean, Sean Connery went on Barbara Walters and said that you should be able to smack your wife around, right? But there are very few high-profile men that have been involved and caught up into this type of stuff, and that have recently and have received a pat on the back and just been able to move on from it.
Right, but Van, what were they accused of? What happened?
Well, question: all the things that Lizzo was accused of, has it followed Lizzo?
Absolutely.
Yes. Are you kidding?
I had a conversation about Lizzo last night.
So you think Lizzo is where Lizzo was before the allegations?
I don't think that Lizzo.
We don't even talk about Lizzo. I was at a concert Lizzo came out to with SZA. Nobody cared.
I don't think that.
And so nobody cares about Lizzo at the moment. And I'm not going to say nobody cares about Lizzo, but she's not popping like she was, mainly because she lost weight. She made the cardinal sin, the same sin that Oprah Winfrey made back in the day, by losing weight. And when your main audience is white women, and you're a so-called black woman in that space, and you start off heavy, you better stay heavy. Because Lizzo's audience is primarily, we're talking about young white women. And they like Lizzo, she's very talented. But at the same time, she's a non-threatening, overweight entertainer. There's a reason why that same demographic can't stand a Beyonce. And I hate to say it, but Lizzo was at these games wearing a thong, with her cheeks out, twerking, playing a flute. She was doing a lot, and she was looked at as almost a talented gesture for a lot of people within certain societies. And now that she lost weight, and now that she's confident and she's feeling herself, and her stick is not being big, and now her main stick is just her music and her talent, that's not good enough to sustain her. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully she can pick back up, but it doesn't look like it, because Oprah Winfrey, she had to gain her weight back to gain her popularity back in the day. It is what it is. Her audience and her demographic did not want to see her skinny. You can go back and see how she lost all that weight, and the moment she gained it back, she got her audience back. And so the Lizzo comparison is a false comparison.
Let's get back to Joy.
No, I mean, I'm being for real. I'm saying right now, this was okay, let's be honest. Joy, your situation, was it much more publicized and a bigger deal than anything that had happened with Shannon Sharpe in the past? Was it more talked about? Was it more viral? Was it more all of that?
Than the past?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. This one with Shannon Sharpe wasn't. It was something that everyone knew about, that everyone had talked about. So if you see Shannon Sharpe on your television now, you see guy who probably had an improper relationship with a woman. And then the network, the sponsors, everybody is forced to come to terms with that. Now, in the past, that guy would not have suffered, but now it's different.
Like, the now also includes the past stuff. It's
Jonathan
also not
Majors.
a one-time thing.
Like, you could go on. It's different. It's not.
Listen, I cannot comment on ongoing.
I'm just saying.
And there it is. They get hit with some facts and they laugh it off. And that's a good example. Jonathan Majors was an individual that we see running on tape, running for his life to try to get away from an altercation, and he still gets charged. Not only prosecuted, but charged. And he pretty much gets his career taken from him. And they couldn't do nothing but laugh it off and change the conversation. But I think Joy is going to be okay. I think she's making the right moves right now, getting back on the screen, getting that peanut butter skin back in the limelight a little bit. And I think she's probably going to have some things pop up for her. I think she's probably got some opportunities that are probably lining up for her right now. So all in all, I think she's going to be okay. I think she's going to land on her feet. I don't think it's probably going to stick with her. We'll see. We'll see, though. I never want to see anybody lose their livelihood or lose the ability to be able to earn and make the same amount of money that they were making before. And I don't think anybody should want that for anybody else. especially when we don't know if the accusations are true or not. And that's something we're probably never going to know. And so shout out to the podcast, Higher Learning. Definitely recommend checking out that show. It was a pretty good interview. They had a lot of good conversation. They talked about a lot of other things as well. So definitely go ahead and check that out. But if you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that like button for me one time. And if you're not new to the channel and you've been enjoying the content so far on this channel, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me. Definitely helps out the channel, and I'm definitely trying to grow. And so definitely go ahead and do that for me. And as usual, peace and chaos.